Hi, my name is Harold Anthony, and I am a data analytics student at Southern New Hampshire University. Here we'll be talking about how social changes have brought changes upon the world due to globalization. Over time, the global community has become more connected as brought changes in both American and other countries, such as how citizens in these countries have interacted with each other and social policy changes have allowed those who are generally disenfranchised to have more opportunities. Here we will have a three-part discussion on how social change has impacted the globalization, the opportunities that are given to those who are considered minorities, and provide a plan on how these issues can be improved. In regards to social change, we will discuss how social practices have been affected due to globalization, how social media has allowed us to communicate with others from further distances, how the global society has been affected by global change, how global connectedness have impacted those in the research of statistics field, and discuss how certain things have impacted one's national identity. As someone who's lived in South Korea and did a military service, I have noticed that a large portion of the population spoke a decent amount of English. According to Felix Martin Gutierrez, this process started in the 1950s using the British dialect of the English language due to the influence of American politics. This has allowed for better communications between the world and business leaders and tourists. With business leaders being able to communicate with each other, they've been able to expand their business to locations where they can potentially increase profits and expand their customer reach by manufacturing and selling goods and their products to countries outside of their home country. Society has brought social change is the work done by organizations such as Nations to end child marriage. The Union campaign, which has brought Maui to raise its legal marriage age from the age 15 to 18. The goal is to end child marriages by the year 2030. Those in the world of research assistance has allowed us to look at issues in a non-biased way. It also opens up collaborations with those from around the globe to collect data and exchange ideas. With these advances of social media, spread faster to the point where this is where the distance of where one is located is becoming less relevant. The benefits of social media is allows a lot amount of information to be collected, distributed, and stored in a small area, allow this information to be spread quickly and passed along by others, allow people to produce their own content, and there's virtually not any limits to where this information can spread. The drawbacks is that it changes the way we communicate with each other, such as the fact that we have less face to face communications, and it changes the way we view one another. This could change. This could also challenge the way we view our national identities because the more we're communicating with those from other countries that have similar interests that we have, the more that becomes our culture, or drawing further away from or rejecting the cultural norms of the nations that we come from. A major issue that I've realized throughout my life is that those who are considered minorities in their cultures have less opportunities to succeed, and in some cases have been locked out of chances altogether. According to Left Selfa, the origin of the discriminations of minorities is as old as human society itself. In America, we tend to think of minorities as an issue of race, when in other nations and cultures, or is considered a matter of nationality, religions, and other factors. Throughout history, the ones who have seen as the majority of the population is discriminated, enslaved, and oppressed the minority. The issues that the minority is faces is that they're not getting the same source of employment opportunities. In the United States, the two minority groups who seem to be most affected by this is African American and Hispanic communities. The ways that we can then bring this, the ways that we can discuss this to bring up statistics and to relate this to the unemployment, income, and crime rates of these different categories. Also, when talking about the crime rate, we can also discuss the possibility of someone who's been convicted of a crime. When we're talking about the lack of opportunities afforded to African Americans as of the third quarter of 2015, according to Gillian B. Wright of The Atlantic, their unemployment rates for them was 9.5% compared to 4.5% for white Americans. As of the graph that you see here, as of February of 2016, the black unemployment rate has dropped a little bit to 8.8%, while the U.S. overall unemployment rate is now at 4.9%. Based on statistics gathered by Fred Economic Data, I would expect that data to go down to 8.1%. However, since 1975, the unemployment rate has not been below 7% for African Americans. A reason for this is because the reason for this is because reason why the unemployment rate might be so high is because only 22% of African Americans have college degrees. In addition, only 69% of African Americans have graduated high school compared to the national rate of 80. Additional funding. However, studies have found that additional funding has produced 20% more college students from low income areas. In addition to this, according to Kim Furata, African Americans are about 40% of the prison population, while being only 13% of the general population. Also, studies have shown that only about 40% of employers will consider hiring someone with a criminal record. So, in the United States, has a return rate of 76% of criminals returning back to prison. However, in Norway has a system where it treats prison less like punishment, more like a place of rehabilitation. In that country, Norway has a recidivism rate of 20% of criminals going back to prison compared to the 76% in the United States. Here we talk about the recommendations, strategies, and benefits of the plans of my plans to improve this issue. Here are my recommendations to increase the education budget, prison reform, and change laws that make it legal for organizations to ask about one's criminal records. Here we would target schools with low graduation rates. We would end pro-profit prisons, hire mental health specialists in prisons, and offer job training for prisoners, such as a work release program. The benefits is that we'll have more educated citizens. It will also have lower unemployment rates throughout uh, all ethnic backgrounds. Lower unemployment rates will provide people with more skills that will also make them less likely to commit crimes and more money going through the economy. In conclusion, we talked about we gave you an introduction on globalization. We talked about uh, the plan of the United Nations to end child marriages, the opportunity provided to minorities, the unemployment rates between minorities is the general population, the education rates affected by these minorities, the crime rates, and recommendations to fix these issues.